Welcome back. If you just joined us watching the news at 10, broadcasting on Channels Television live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Niger Delta Avengers claim bombing of another crude oil pipeline in Bayelsa State. Akwa Ibom militants condemn the attacks on pipelines. Police arraign suspects in the June 2nd murder of Mrs. Bridget Agbaime over blasphemy before a Kano magistrate court. Elder statesman and professor of law Ben Nwabweze calls for a restructuring of the federal system. Thousands attend funeral procession for Muhammad Ali as the boxing legend is buried in his hometown, Louisville, Kentucky. Just a reminder that all our top stories you can find on our websites, channelstv.com and on youtube.com/channelsweb. Do visit m.channelstv.com to view us live on a mobile device. You can also download the Channels TV app for Android, iOS and Windows phones from their respective stores. Go a step further and interact with the Channels Eyewitness feature in the Channels TV app. If you have pictures or videos you'd like to share with us, tap the application on your device, swipe to reveal the Eyewitness menu, and follow the instructions.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
So we have some pictures of you sent into our Eyewitness portal. Let's take a look at them, shall we? First is this one from Kwara Jeba Road in Kwara State, showing the bad state of the road. Our Eyewitness reporter is calling on the federal government to repair it. Followed by this picture from Secretariat Road, Bodija in Ibadan, the Oyo State capital. We see some cattle feeding off a heap of refuse by the side of the road. We also have this one from Ikorodu area of Lagos State, a primary school overtaken by flood. Our Eyewitness reporter wants the government to look into this. Our next picture comes from Adeoshodi Street in the Ijagun satellite town area of Lagos. It shows electric cables lying on the road. Our Eyewitness reporter wants concerned distribution companies to rectify this potential hazard. We'll end in Alakwere area of K2, also in Lagos. We're seeing the picture of a falling electric pole. Our Eyewitness reporter wants concerned authorities to remove that and have it fixed.
Airtel, the smartphone network.
Elder statesman Professor Ben Nwabweze is hopeful that Nigeria will still go through restructuring and transformation into one nation. The professor of law and senior advocate of Nigeria believes the convocation of a national conference, setting up of a reconciliation commission, and restructuring of the federal system are some solutions to sustaining national unity. He said this during the presentation of his new book, which tackles issues of nation development and corruption.
It's an occasion that attracted dignitaries and personalities, including the former Minister of Foreign Affairs, retired Major General Ike Nwachukwu. They are here to celebrate legal luminary and the first senior advocate of Nigeria, Professor Ben Nwabweze, on the launch of his latest book entitled The National Question and Corruption.
The honor he has brought to Anambra State, I want to tell him, will not go unrecognized. And many more. We have great songs of Anambra playing heroes all over the place in Nigeria.
Known for his writing prowess, Professor Nwabweze has written and published over 32 books. The latest captures his strong and consistent concern for the unity, stability, and prosperity of Nigeria. The reviewer speaks on the three-part book of 20 chapters.
Professor Nwabweze admits, however, that the problem of corruption is a most challenging one. But he maintains that it has nothing to do with the, quote, soul and the substance of our nation. By God's grace,
the book is finally unveiled to the public.
Hereby unveil this book. The title of this book is The National Question and Corruption by Ben Nwabweze.
Goodwill messages pour in.
your contributions were immense, and helped to shape the Igbo agenda. We picked our people when the National Conference and asked, because at that time we developed the need for 6 zones, and asked for 6 zones, and fairness and equity and justice for all in Africa.
And then, the author, who is also celebrating his 85th birthday, speaks on his passion for the nation's stability, which the book focuses on.
The transformation of Nigeria is part of my passion. Although things are not going well right now, but I still hope and pray that this country will be changed for the better.
The subject of corruption has become a topical issue, and the author believes the book will form part of lasting solutions to a problem that has become a menace.
Senate President Dr. Bukola Saraki has been speaking on the issues that will be prioritized by the upper legislative chamber in the next 5 years. Senator Saraki told reporters in Abuja that the Senate will do all within its power to fulfill its campaign promises to Nigerians who voted in the lawmakers. He promised that the upper legislative chamber will seek ways of blocking leakages in the country as part of the government's anti-corruption drive.
I owe to Nigerians that made that sacrifices that there should be a difference. And that is why one is very clear and motivated in trying to bring about a difference in what we're doing here in the Senate. And I think we have done that, despite the fact that I think, maybe because of the trial, we've had one hand tied behind our back. We can do more if not. But I think even despite that, a lot of things have been achieved. And we've started off, as you say, having a clear agenda, a legislative agenda. And if you watch and you see that everything we do has a process, it has a direction, it has a vision. We're not just coming in and just doing things rampantly. Our focus has always been here on the economy. If you say one thing about the 8th Senate, it's all about the economy, largely. The bills that we pass, the motions we discuss, the oversights we address, because we believe that that is where the real issues are. The youth that supported us, lack of jobs, they're expecting more employment for them, they're expecting a better enabling environment. And that's been our focus in looking at it.
Some of the things that the Senate President was talking about there in that report was the government's social welfare program, which we're discussing tonight. And joining us on the news at 10 is economist Gabriel Idahosa, who joins us to analyze this social welfare program. Thank you so much for joining us on the news at 10.
Thank you.
So now we do have a social welfare program in place, all thanks to the present government. In our situation, is it a case of better late than never?
Absolutely. You have to start somewhere. All other governments in recent times had talked about it, but this government now decided we will start it. So let's see the beginning. It will be the first steps, but we will see how far they can go before it makes any impact.
Now, in this program, the government is hoping to hand out about 5,000 naira to each to poor and vulnerable Nigerians, and also begin a school feeding program, which is expected to provide jobs for at least 1.4 million Nigerians. That sounds more like a drop in the ocean compared to what we're going through now, compared also to the number of unemployed people that we have in society today and the number of people who really need help in the country. What do you make of that?
Well, absolutely. You're talking of 1.4 in a population that you have perhaps 30 to 40 million people who are want to work but don't have jobs. So it's really nothing if you want to compare it to the size of the problem. But it's an attempt to start somewhere and grow it from there.
Some have criticized the payment of 5,000 naira to poor and vulnerable Nigerians as economically unreasonable. They say that this money could be put to better use, which could be providing social infrastructure that will make a better impact on the lives of citizens.
That's true, because really, if you look at 5,000 and what it can do in the hands of not all poor Nigerians, actually, just hand-picked people in each state, that has been a genuine criticism. Perhaps that money could be put together to empower small businesses that can hire 2 or 3 of such people, rather than because if you give 5,000 to anybody, he's not going to be able to invest it. He's just going to consume it. And then next month he's expecting another 5,000. And even that 5,000 can't really do much. But the government seems to believe that let us be seen to start something, and then we can grow it ourselves or get the next government to do it. But it's quite small compared to what we think as Nigerians will be meaningful.
But how economically viable is it, considering what we're going through now as a nation?
It's not viable, absolutely not viable. At the time the government was contesting as candidates, the economy was not it is today. At that time you were looking at crude oil about 60, maybe more dollars per barrel, and then it's come down to 40, struggling to get to 50, or sometimes falling back into 50, into 40s. And we were doing 2.2, 2.5 million barrels a day. But right now we are doing about 1.4, 1.5, no thanks to the bombing going on in the Niger Delta. So it is, strictly speaking, not viable. But the government has locked itself into this promise, and it was part of the platform on which it won the election, that it was going to do these things. And the government really, after a year, it's trying to do it, because it has struggled with it for the 1 year to see if there's a way it can back out from doing it or hope that the economy will improve. But unfortunately, that has not happened.
Well, we're hoping, that things get better over the next few months. And if they do, if the economy does pick up, do you think that the government can improve on the social welfare?
Absolutely.
I mean, how do you think the government can improve on the social welfare?
I think the improvement will come by way of finding ways that can improve employment and not just increasing the number of the 5,000. If they start by saying we are going to give 5,000 to maybe 20 people or 20,000 per state, they should not even try to increase that and say we want to do 30 per state. Rather, they should say, well, we have kept that promise. We want to find some other ways of improving the welfare of people at the lower rungs of the ladder. And that should be in the area of creation and supporting new small businesses and all small businesses at a certain level that can hire 2 or 3 people. That is micro enterprises. Micro enterprises are easy to empower. With 50,000, with 100,000, you can empower a micro enterprise that can hire 2 or 3 people. And if you do that in 100,000 places, you are talking about 200, 300,000 jobs that are sustainable.
Taking the pressure off the government to provide jobs and giving it to the private sector,
Absolutely.
Which is where it should have been in the first place.
That's where it has to be.
Thank you so much, Mr. Gabriel Idahosa, for joining us on the News at 10.
Thank you.
When the News at 10 returns, telecoms giant MTN set to list on the Nigerian Stock Exchange following decision to resolve disputes with the NCC. We'll have more on business news. Please stay with us.